Have you ever wondered what it would be like to live in Havana long term? I actually did that for 2 years and only left because of the pandemic. Now, 5 years later, I am back to explore again. I'm going to share with you today all of the things that I love about the city, my favorite places, but a lot has changed in 5 years, so I'm here with my friend Osmany, who's a tour guide, and he's going to introduce some new things that he thinks I'm going to love. So welcome to my Havana. We are starting off in Central Park, Parque Central, and it is a very important place historically, culturally. It's also one of the most beautiful places here in Havana. The entire day there are so many people, and it's been like that for its entire existence. During Spanish colonization, the Spanish would come here. It was the heart of activity. The rich would come down and enjoy their time. It's also the place where the national hero, Jose Marti, had a cafe just off to the side, and he plotted against the Spanish. Today, it's a fantastic place to come. It's beautiful to see the National Ballet, and also it's a good spot to meet your group tours, to join one of the hop-on, hop-off bus tours, or even take a trans tour bus somewhere else in the country.
This is the Capitol building in Cuba. It's based on the one in Washington, although it seems a little bit taller, the dome part. It was on purpose. And it's home to the Senate and the Congress, but it's also a museum, so you could come here and visit it. It was inaugurated in 1929. It's a very popular place, not only in Cuba, for domestic tourists, but also for foreigners.
I took this tour back in 2019. It's actually very interesting. They offer it in multiple languages, and it's very affordable. I think it might have been $5. I will check the price for it now because 2019 prices, as you know, are not the same anymore. But I think it's definitely worth going in, and I also think it's very funny that they made it just a little bit taller than the original. All right, so we went in. The tour is now $20 US, and you need to pay by credit card. You can't pay by cash. So I would say, for me, it was a great $5 tour. I'm not that much of a history buff. I will say this, if you are interested in history, you want to see inside, it is beautiful. I'm so glad I went. I do have an article about it on my website. I'll put the QR code there, just so you can get a preview of what the tour would be like. So next up is one of the most impressive buildings in Havana, and it is the home of the ballet. Now, this started in the late 19th century as a Spanish private club, then became Grand Theater, and today it's where you'll see the ballet. Dance in Cuba is taken very seriously. I have friends that went to school, and at a very early age, they chose to go into dance, but you had to not just go into dance, but choose what kind of dance. And ballet is something you will find Cubans all around the world, both men and women, and they're considered some of the best. We're gonna go see if we can actually go inside, because if they are rehearsing, that's not possible. And usually if you want to go in, you have to buy a ticket to the ballet, which is not always easy to get. All right, so we came over and just realized that right now they're giving guided tours half an hour for 600 Cuban pesos. Now, if you are following the crazy inflation and exchange rate here, that means it's a half-hour tour for $1.50. This is hands down one of the most beautiful places, and they told me that it's okay if I take video inside, so we were definitely taking this tour. The building is under restoration, and so they're not going to have any plays or any ballet right now, so it's only open to these small tours, which is actually really great for us.
This theater that was the biggest theater in the Caribbean and the Americas between 1837 and 1913, when we reduced its capacity to its current size.
It only took 1 year and
3 months.
You'd think churches could learn something from this. This is the most beautiful building by far. Churches take 50 years.
Our capital
Yes.
took 2 years and 8 months.
This is the largest freestanding theater right now in the Caribbean, and when it was built, it was the third largest in the world. It only took 1 year and 3 months, which is incredible. I was just saying, like, churches take like 50, 100 years, and he said the Capitol, which we just went to, it was just 2 years. So when motivated, Cubans are very fast at building things. This is really cool to kind of be behind the scenes for this. We are on the stage right now, so we can look out into the theater and see that they're restoring it. Part of the reason this needs so much restoration is that over the years, the lighting was kerosene, all of these things that were so hot and really damaged the place. And so it's fascinating to see this. The name of this theater is also after Alicia Alonso, and he was saying that the last time she danced, she was a prima ballerina, the most famous in Cuba, and she danced up until 2015 when she was 95. This place is fascinating. When you walk through, you get so much about just Cuban history as a whole. I've learned so much about the export systems that it had 56 products at one point, where it was the first country to produce export, not just coffee and sugarcane, but many other things. But also, the one fact that blew me away was that Alicia Alonso, in her 20s, was legally blind. And she danced, not entire ballets, but made appearances until she was 95. She's known throughout the world, had time to have children. Her daughters and granddaughters have continued the tradition, supporting the foundations and the commitment to ballet. If you're in the world of dance, I'm sure you know her name, but this was actually fascinating, and this building is incredible. I'm so glad that we did this. This place is stunning. We're up on the top floor, and I'm just going to show you here. They have this here with a doorway. Musicians would go up there, and this place is full of echoes, and so you could hear the musicians from all over. If there were 2,000 people up here, which it had room for, you could hear it throughout. Now, this was built by the Galicians from Spain, and at its height, there were more Galicians in Cuba than in Spain, and that's because they really treated Cuba as a province, and it was a very wealthy province. So all of this artwork here, all of the marble, everything is incredible. And then the theater itself was a factory theater. I'd seen this term before, but I didn't know what it meant. But it meant all the seamstresses, tailors, like everything was done in-house. They weren't farming it out or bringing it in. So while there may be lots of Italian marble, all of the costumes and things that were needed for the theater were actually made here in Cuba. It is really incredible. And it's beautiful, and I wish I could tell you everything he's sharing with us, but there's so much symbolism behind all of this design. I forgot to mention that our guide actually does speak English, so it's fantastic. And he told me that in 1915, Cuba was so rich that actually it was usually on par with the American dollar, but also it was often at 15 cents higher. So he's like, you're Canadian, so it's like Americans were the Canadians to Cuba with the lower dollar rate. I was just saying, colonizers here had it so good. But Osmany said to me, he's like, you know, when the Galicians came here, they didn't have any money. They made all their money in Cuba based on all of these exports, the coffee, the sugar, and the 54 other things that they were exporting around the world. And they built all of these things to show off to Spain of how well they were doing. It's just, I did not know this part of the history of Cuba. It's pretty incredible. I think he saved the best for last. We are on the rooftop. Now, it's funny because we were going to check out another rooftop. This one is way better. We're right next to the Capitolio. We're right next to Hotel Ayngelina. You can see all of Havana from here. This is insane. That is my new favorite thing to do in Cuba. You should do it while it's still available. Now, they're doing this because they're in the period of restoration, so it may not last forever. the guide tip him well. So government employees, they had some advertisements. They get paid between $2,000 and maybe if you're an HR manager or in IT, you may get a bit over $4,000 a month. That is not enough. I gave him a $10 bill. Tip people in USD, treat them well. That was an amazing tour. He was fantastic. He also, I know he speaks Spanish and English. I don't know any other languages, but well worth it. All right, on to the next piece of history. We're going for a walk. Back to history in the street. When the Spanish first came, they built a walled city that we know today as Old Havana. Towards the end of the 19th century, they tore the walls down, looked to expand. They built Parque Central, which we started in, and they also built Prado. Now, Prado looks a lot like Ramblas in Catalonia or the promenades in Paris, and this is exactly what it was supposed to be. It was inspired by that, and so the wealthy would come and, well, stroll and enjoy their wealth. Today, it is somewhere where people still come. It is the walkway down to the Malecon. It's also where you'll find a lot of great artists. It's where people sit, enjoy the shade of the trees, and that's what we're going to go check out. So you'll see here people do not have prices, which is kind of unusual for Cuba. A lot of places, the stores do have prices. You can haggle here, go lightly. These are real artists trying to make a living. You can get some original work. These are not people, printing things off the internet, because as you know, the internet is slow. They are actually taking the time. They are true artists, and it's actually really nice if you want to get, a one-of-a-kind piece. Really talented people doing work here.
According to me, in this area, it's more genuine, the art. I mean, because when you visit one of the handicraft markets, one of the souvenir markets, mostly the same kind of art. And maybe there are just a few artists there that sell, and many sellers, resellers. So in here, it's more genuine art, it's more original, and you could be in touch with the very artists and bargain with them. Yeah, we forgot to mention dominoes. I mean, dominoes, it's a board game, but it's maybe the national board game in Cuba. It's not official, but everybody considers it the official board game. I mean, the national board game. So you can see people playing cards, chess, checkers, but dominoes, we are very competitive people as a culture, and we like to play dominoes in pairs.
We're going to catch a bite to eat somewhere that is supposed to be very interesting. It's called Cafe Ateneo. Now, during the day, it is a cafe from 6 to 10. They still have the chairs, so people are drinking a little bit more, having a good time. At night, it's a full-on club, and it has drag shows. This is not new for Cuba. LGBTQ plus support is very common. Bars that accept everyone, very common. There are also a number of gay bars that you can find throughout the city. But this place has been really big on Cuban social media, and because there are no tourists yet, it's still very much the local community supporting it. We're also hungry, so we're gonna pop in and get a bite. We made it down to the Malecon, and I'm obligated to give you a little bit of history here because we are at El Morro, and there are actually two other buildings as part of this. This was the defense system for the Spanish to defend the walled city in the harbor. Who were they defending against? Actually, other colonizers like the British and the Dutch. And this is what they built here. You can get tours here. I've gone once. It's actually interesting if you're here for a long time. But for me, culturally, the most interesting thing here is the Malecon, or the waterfront. It is noon right now, so it is the worst time to be here. However, if you come either early morning or towards dusk, late afternoon, you will find locals out here fishing. And then if you come here at night, you will find lots of friends and families and groups. People all come down here, conjugate. They, buy a little box of planchao or some beer, and they have some drinks, they blast their music, and they just kind of hang out. I have so many good memories from hanging out at the Malecon. It's a free thing to do. You can walk down, it's well lit, lots of people, but always just be careful of your surroundings. moved over for Centro, and I only have time to show you one thing, but it is very important to the culture of Cuba. And if you don't come here and you miss the stories from here, I think you really miss the story of what Cuban and Cuban culture really is. We are in Callejón de Hamel, and it really tells a story of this interesting mix of religion that came from Africans being taken to Cuba, becoming enslaved, and then basically changing, melding, hiding their religion from the Catholics, and what has happened today. So I'm going to share a little bit with you. First up, we're going to the art gallery because there is a man here who shares the story, very passionate about it, and you can learn so much. I'm not going to share everything. I just want to give you enough so that when you plan your trip, you're going to come here.
Okay, welcome here, and this place, Callejón de Hamel, is the first cultural center of murals and permanent installations inspired by the African-derived religions that we are still practicing here in Cuba. For some scholars, incorrectly named Afro-Cubans because they are not African religions in Cuba, they are Cuban religions with African roots. And it was just one artist, Salvador González Escalona, who in 1990 committed an act of transgression and transformation of the urban space in order to visualize and legitimize these traditions that, due to the racial and cultural prejudices that we still have here in Cuba, are still regarded as witchcraft, black magic, sorcery, but however, is part of our identity. Remember, Cuba without the Africans and their descendants will not be Cuba. Every Sunday from 12 to 3 we have rumba party in the street, music. The first Saturday month in the morning we have an activity for children, and in the afternoon we have an activity with the LGBT African descendant community. We have here Cuban black drag queens. The second Saturday month we have Cuban rap, the third Saturday month we have Cuban reggae, and the last Friday month we have traditional Cuban music. And she's the director of this project. She is an artist.
Oh, wow.
She's Jacqueline, she's Salvador's daughter, but she's an artist by herself, you know?
Oh, amazing.
And she painted murals in Mexico, the United States of America. Now she's in charge of this area.
Amazing.
And that is the bar where you can drink the typical drink of this place, El Negrón, the big black one with honey, basil, lemon, and rum. And then over here we have the gallery of the artists. You can buy painters.
This is where people can find you.
Yes, the gallery of the artists.
In the gallery of the artists.
And these are paintings that we sell them, inspired by the deities from Santeria, Orishas. Santeria, you know, is a geological process of syncretism between Catholicism and African religion from Nigeria, but I disagree with that definition. But
you still use it.
Of course. But and here we have paintings inspired by the Orishas, spiritual entities that we do pay homage in Santeria. Indeed, Orishas are not spiritual entities. Orishas are frequencies of energies produced by the work of the natural forces working in natural environment.
So if you want a slice of local life, on Saturdays, come to the 17th Street Market. It's basically like the Walmart or department store of Havana. There is everything here. It stretches around the whole block, around the whole park. You can get everything here from food to shampoo to appliances. Not everything is the best price. It's a more affordable price, but you are still paying for convenience. So for example, we were just looking at a carton of eggs, like a flat of eggs. So 30 eggs are 3,000 Cuban pesos, which is basically the average salary for someone here. So for the average salary, they can only afford a carton of eggs. You really need to think about what you're spending your money on for a lot of these people. But there's food, there's beer. I mean, the products are here, and that is the biggest difference that I have noticed since when I was here before. So the last time I was here, so many food shortages, so many things that you couldn't get. Well, you could get it on the black market, but now the black market is basically the market on 17th Street. You can have whatever you want, but it's going to come at a price. This is actually my favorite part about Cuba, is the repurposing. With these kids' toys, they're so cute. This line right here actually is way down and around the corner. And they
200
are
maybe or more
selling,
people.
they're selling rice out of a truck for a very affordable price. Osmany said it's at least 200 people waiting. This is one of my favorite parts of Havana that most people miss, and we are in the Miramar neighborhood. Now, remember, we started first with Old Havana, and then we kept moving west. Spanish moved into Centro, then they moved into Vedado, and then in the Miramar neighborhood, that really had a boom, 20s up to the 40s, when rich American entrepreneurs wanted to move to Havana. And so they built this neighborhood, and today you can see lots of beautiful architecture, clearly very wealthy people, and also tons of nature because, you know, they didn't need to develop the whole area. They wanted to keep some nature. Right behind me is a ficus tree that is the largest in Havana. They think it's 200 years old, but it could be up to 500 years old. And this is a really great spot to come if you want to have a picnic. There's also places here to eat. The Salsa Festival, they also hold events here. The first time I visited was my very first trip to Cuba, and I had a convertible car, you know, the classic car tour. And actually, our driver recommended it, and it was my favorite part of the trip. It is absolutely beautiful here, and really unlike no other place in the city. So I have been to El Bosque many times, and I've seen this mural, but I didn't really know what it was about, and it's the vampires in Havana. And it is a cartoon, very famous cartoon in Cuba that was in the 70s, but it tells the story of the 1920s to, you know, mid 40s. And it is the story of the vampires who came here, the people who were colonizing, trying to profiting. So, you know, you've got the Europeans that have come in, you have the Americans that have come in, and the conflicts between all of them. So they have all of these characters of people who are trying to benefit while Cubans were just trying to survive. It is fascinating. I love this piece. And we're going to take a quick walk through the forest because it is just so beautiful. I need to show you more of it. Now it does get hot here, so if you want to come here early in the day or in the evening. And also if you got kids, this is a great spot for kids. Not only is this area here, they also have like a kids playground underneath, or the overpass there. That doesn't sound very nice, but actually it is quite nice for kids. But this is definitely a family area where people come and they picnic. Yes, you can go to the bar, but there's also a picnic area, grill, and there's affordable food. So if you want your kids to come and experience life with other kids, this is a good spot to do it. And also it's just beautiful. Now, I was actually just saying that I didn't remember all of these things, and that's because I don't think I've come to this side of the park. Normally the classic cars go to another side, and that's just because it's easier, safer for the big cars. If you want to come to this side and you're just taking a regular taxi, ask for Almendras Park, or just tell them the Vampiros sign. They'll know. There are two parts to the park. And if you're coming in just a yellow taxi or something, they'll probably know that you just want to come in, have a drink, or hang out. First impressions everyone has is just how beautiful and lush this place is. It is so green. It's like draped in emerald. It is one of the most beautiful spots in Havana. But also, you might notice some dead chickens and some clay pots, and that goes back to our previous spot. You know, it is part of the Afro-Cuban religion to give an offering. It first started in Africa, where they would do it with a sacred tree, and now it's very common to do it here. Very well known. This is a religion that is widespread, and they are very open about it. In fact, we just saw a woman who was going down the stairs with a chicken. So it's not something that you should be afraid of, and actually, if you're interested and you're respectful, you might even be able to connect with a guide so that you can learn more about it. With that, I think it's a good time to end the video, the most beautiful place in Havana. I will be in Cuba for several weeks. I have lots of videos planned, so I'll see you in the next one. We'll be back in Havana.